Hello, my wonderful friends all around the world. I'm taking a minute to think about everyone that's tuning in, listening to this episode, how grateful I am. And I'm especially grateful because I've been exploring recently how I feel at this time of year as I'm recording this in December, and how there can be an intense feeling of I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, things start to get busy. There are so many things at school to pay for. There are so many things to pay for in general because it's the holiday season approaching. I've committed to so many different things, said yes, not thought about how I'm going to pay for them. And so I'm sure you can all relate. I think that it's this time of year that sometimes I can overcommit to things on a time level and a monetary level. And so also, as I make plans for 2025, I have been really thinking about expansion and doing things out of my comfort zone. And then that can bring up fear around, but what if that doesn't work? And what if none of this works? So I feel that this time of year for me, there can be a bit more anxiety than usual. And so I'm conscious of that. And that's what I wanted to talk about today because I would imagine I'm not alone here in feeling it this time of year. Well, any time of year we can feel this way, but I think for me especially it happens much more around this time. So I wanted to share something that I'm working on behind the scenes as I navigate this because it's been really powerful. So I have been reading this book called The Abundance Book. I feel that my word for 2025 will be abundance. I always choose a word for the year to give myself some kind of anchor and focus. And we'll be doing this together, by the way. Every January, I run a workshop where I talk you through my process for planning my year and for designing my life. I am a big advocate of taking time out to design my own life. It's something that I take a lot of time to do, and I've been doing and exploring over the last couple of weeks. And I really do live my life with intention. And so, part of that, I have been going back to this book, which I first did last year, which is called The Abundance Book. It's by John Randolph Price. And it can be a bit hard to comprehend in places, I will admit, for me anyway. It might not be for you. But part of this book is about spending 40 days bringing your awareness to abundance and reading a statement every day, journaling and visualizing. And I'm on day 8 today as I record this. And already I feel so grateful, which is why I came on this morning to share how grateful I am and actually genuinely mean that, because this book is starting to help me see abundance in so many different ways. And this is what I love. I came to this book thinking about lack of money and lack of time. Yet now I am seeing abundance in so many different ways. And it is so incredible. And what I'm taking from this book is that when we focus on the outward abundance of time and money and the lack of, and we're focusing on the gap and we're focusing on the scarcity of that, then it will only fuel that even more. And it will only highlight the lack, and we'll start to see the lack everywhere, and we'll start to struggle, and we start to spiral into a negative mindset. This book is about bringing ourselves out of that and focusing on the already abundance in our lives. And this is what I love about this process, is that I'm on day 8, and already I feel much more abundant and grateful. And I feel excited about next year because I feel like big things are coming. Whereas a week ago, I didn't feel like that. I felt so scared. I was like trying to imagine every possibility of things going wrong next year and what would happen and what would I have to do if all this went wrong. And now I'm not. I'm thinking in the complete opposite direction. My income hasn't changed. I don't have any more time than I did before. It's literally just where my focus is going. And this is why this is so, so powerful. I talk about mindset all the time because it really is the difference between us having a great life or a miserable life. And I have to be careful myself. Have a history of depression and anxiety, and I've ended up in some really dark places in my past. And so I'm very conscious of not wanting to go back there. And so I recognize the feelings in myself now. And as soon as I start to feel my thoughts going down dark holes, I always come back to doing something to turn my mindset around, whether that's doing this 40-day prosperity or listening to a visualization every morning, tuning into podcasts that really help and motivate me, which is why I wanted to record this podcast, to be a beacon of light to others too, so that you always know you can tune in and hear something positive. And so that's what I do. I dial it back in when I start to feel myself feeling that way. And so I'm on day 8, and I wanted to share some of the statements and what's come up in my journaling because I just think it's really interesting. And so one of the things that I've really, really noticed is that since I've started to do this, I've become very aware, like I say, of the abundance all around me. And just even putting this out into the world rather than seeing it, oh, I've got to record another podcast. Today I sat here and thought about all the people that will be listening to this podcast and how maybe just one person out there needs to hear this today. And that abundance of sharing and feeling that this podcast is going to be listened to somewhere in the world, and how incredible that is. And and it's true. And so as I've been going through the 8 days, I've also started to notice things in my life that have happened. So I'll share a couple. My friend last week came to stay. Now, I wasn't feeling great, and a part of me thought, should I cancel? I'm not really feeling very well. I've had low iron, so my energy's been really low recently. Should I cancel? I'm not going to be very much company. And I thought, no, I know Cassandra, my friend, is a traveling nomad. She has the most incredible life, traveling all around the world and goes staying places and house sits, and I know that staying here was part of her plans and that would disrupt her plans. So I thought, no, still go with the plan. And I'll just explain to Cassandra that I'm going to be unwell. Anyway, Cassandra being here was such an amazing experience. She's an energy healer, and she did some work on me and with me. And then she took me out for dinner, and I was like, I don't remember the last time I was taken out for dinner. This is so lovely. And I was just so grateful. And again, it's that abundant feeling of how lovely is that, and it doesn't happen very often. And then at the Christmas fair at my children's school last weekend, again when I was feeling very unwell, my friends won the raffle, and it was a sound bar, a £500 sound bar, something that you put on the television to make it sound better for those like me that didn't know what it was. And they gifted it to me. And so there was something else. Oh yes, I took a flight the other week to Romania. And they charged me on the way back because I couldn't get booked in, and it was all a bit of a unpleasant experience. And they wouldn't refund me, and I just left it. And then we were arguing over it, and then I just decided to just let it go. And they messaged me last week saying, "We're sorry, we are going to give you a refund." Anyway, so I find it so fascinating and interesting how sometimes we can place so much emphasis on money in the bank, money coming in, being the source of abundance and financial freedom. And actually, when we stop and look around at the abundance in our lives, there is plenty. And if there isn't, usually it's a case because of this. It's a case of being so disconnected and disattached and focusing on the lack, and therefore driving more lack. And actually, this always sounds and seems counterproductive when you're feeling that lack and you're just seeing the bills coming in, to then move to something like this where you are trusting that money's on its way, and that you are trusting in the abundance that is all around, and that when you focus on that, you know it's going to come. And here are some statements that I really have enjoyed reading. So let me find it. Hold on. There was one that I really liked, and it's this one. Money is not my supply. No person, place, or condition is my supply. My awareness, understanding, and knowledge of the all-providing activity of the divine mind within me is my supply. I love that so much. So that's what this whole book is about. It's like we're not putting emphasis on that external. And when I read that, I journaled on that, and I wrote this. Being aware of this truth is my only responsibility. I love this. No matter how much money I have, it will never feel enough if we don't truly feel abundant from the inside, not outside in. It has to be inside out. That was my interpretation of that statement. And I see it time and time again. I'm in big circles of mastermind groups and people who are high achievers wanting to earn money, and it really doesn't matter what level you get at in terms of financial income. The same issues are always still there, and the sense of lack and not enough. And even if you hit a certain milestone financially, there's still that pressure to keep that going the year after, and to still pay for the things now, because your life has expanded with financial growth. You find things to spend the money on, and so that will always be there as a problem. And now it's a nice problem to have. I'm not disputing that. That's a great problem to have. But it's the internal work that will make life better no matter what you earn. And this is what I love, because then it becomes a win-win situation. And so I love this so much. And I wrote here today, it all seems to be very much about consciousness, connection, and awareness, and bringing ourselves back to that. And I'm going to read one more statement, and then I'm going to leave this here. Which one shall I read next? This one's an interesting one. It took me a while to get my head around this one. My inner supply instantly and constantly takes on form and experience according to my needs and desires. And as the principle of supply in action, it is impossible for me to have any needs or unfulfilled desires. For a long time, it took me a while to get my head around that one. my dyslexic simple brain. And now I completely understand that we do have, when we focus on those desires, and when we focus on where it is we're going, instead of focusing on the lack of what we don't have, and we focus on, actually, this is where I want to go, and this is the life that I want to design, and this is the future that I envisage for myself, and let's get excited about that and the steps that can get me there, and believe that I can get there, and know that it's coming, and know that when we focus on that, then things start to move and shift. And having that contentment of, I know this. And then when you're so content with that, you don't have unfulfilled desires, because you're just focusing purely on the joy of all of this. And so that's where I'm heading right now. And I love it, because I want to be heading into 2025 feeling great, and feeling in control, and feeling excited about my year, not dreading it. So I wanted to share that with you. I'm going to continue on, and I'll share my findings. And this week, I am working on our event that will be happening in January. So please keep a lookout for that. I run a free event every year. I absolutely adore it. It's all about having your best year yet and designing your own life. And I take you through the steps that I take. And honestly, it blew my mind how my life has changed since I've started to put this into practice. So I'm going to share it all with you in January. And for those who've taken it before, I can't wait to take it with you again. And so keep a lookout for that, my friends. Have the most wonderful, abundant week, and just maybe take notice this week of the abundance around you. It can be a really difficult time of year for many too. And so I love this idea of giving back as Cassandra gave back to me and took me out for dinner, and how lovely that was to have been thought of and treated in that way, and how it's got me thinking about definitely giving back this year in December during difficult times for other people, and spreading some joy. Okay, my friends, take care. Have a wonderful week.